The meeting between General Zelia and Kate Wilson lasted well into the station night cycle. Both women shared stories of their parents, piecing together the full history that had been kept from them. Kate explained how her mother Olivia had returned from the war, a changed woman haunted by what she had seen and discovered. My mother kept detailed journals, Kate said as they sat in her private quarters aboard the station. She believed the harvesters would return. She spent her remaining years developing technologies she thought might help us fight them. She died 5 years ago. Zelia nodded, her silver eyes reflecting the soft light of the room. My father also dedicated his life to preparation. He built our defense systems, trained our fleet, all while being called paranoid by the High Council. They believed the threat was gone forever. Kate activated a display showing schematics of various weapons and defense systems. These are based on her research. Some have been implemented in our current fleet, but many were considered too experimental or resource-intensive. The Viridian General studied the designs with interest. Some of these match our own developments. It seems our parents continued to share information secretly, outside the viewport stars, twinkled against the black vacuum. Ships moved between Earth and the moon base carrying supplies and personnel. The night side of Earth was spread below them. City lights forming constellations of human civilization. We need to present this to both our governments, Kate said finally. The harvester threat is too great for either of our species to face alone. We need a unified response. Zelia made a sound that might have been a laugh, though it sounded like glass chimes to human ears. The Viridian Council will not easily trust humans again. The memories of war remain fresh. Admiral Samantha Reed joined them, bringing reports from Earth Command. She had been skeptical at first, but the evidence was overwhelming. The harvester fleet was massive, larger than their combined forces. If we wait for diplomatic channels to clear, we lose valuable preparation time, Samantha said, reviewing the data. Perhaps we need to act independently, gather evidence the politicians cannot ignore. Kate looked at the Admiral with surprise. Are you suggesting we go against orders? Samantha straightened her uniform. I'm suggesting we do reconnaissance. Your mother and General Zoric's father did the same during the war. They acted when no one else would. The three women spent hours developing a plan. They would take a small fast ship to the coordinates indicated on the combined map, the place their parents had called the Nexus. If the weapon there was real, they would have proof to convince both governments. If not, they would still gather intelligence on the approaching harvester fleet. Mel and Linda, the two Viridian officers who had accompanied Zelia, volunteered immediately to join the mission. They were loyal to their general and understood the stakes. 3 human crew members were selected as well, scientists with combat experience who could be trusted. The small team prepared in secret, while official diplomatic channels slowly processed the Viridian visit. Kate gathered research equipment while Zelia and Samantha secured a ship. The Eclipse was a research vessel modified for stealth operations, fast and well armed, while maintaining the appearance of a scientific mission. 2 days after the Viridians' arrival, they were ready to depart. Kate stood in her quarters looking at a photo of her mother. The resemblance was strong, both with the same determined eyes and strong jaw. What would you do, Mom? She whispered to the image. There was a soft knock at her door. Kate found Zelia standing there, the tall alien having to duck slightly under the human-sized doorway. The Viridian commander had changed from her ceremonial armor to more practical combat gear. Are you prepared, Kate Wilson? Zelia asked, her voice melodic despite the serious situation. Kate nodded, gathering her pack. We leave in an hour. I was just saying goodbye to my mother in my own way. The alien general stepped into the room, her movements graceful despite her large frame. She studied the photo of Olivia Wilson with interest. She was a great warrior. Your mother. She defeated 3 of our best fighters in the Battle of Proxima, yet spared their lives. It was unheard of at the time. She saved my father when she discovered him wounded behind enemy lines. Zelia continued. Instead of killing him as our propaganda had told you humans would do, she healed him. They discovered the truth together. Kate had heard fragments of this story from her mother. but never the full account. How did they find out about the harvester Xylia touched? A panel on her wrist armor displaying a holographic image of strange cylindrical ships. The harvesters had been manipulating communications between our worlds, feeding false information about atrocities, creating mistrust. They needed us to destroy each other so they could take both our worlds without resistance. Your mother intercepted one of their transmission vessels. The Viridian general closed the hologram. They fought together to return to their respective sides with the truth. By then, much damage had been done. Millions dead on both sides. The peace was difficult, but they managed it. Kate finished packing her essential equipment. So now history repeats itself. Their children trying to save both worlds. Xylia made the chiming sound. Again. Not repeating history. Kate Wilson. Finishing what they started. They made their way to the docking bay where the Eclipse waited. The ship was sleek and dark against the stars, its hull designed to absorb rather than reflect sensors. Admiral Samantha was already aboard running final checks with the crew. The 3 human specialists nodded respectfully as Kate and Xylia entered. The human team consisted of Allison, a weapons expert with short blonde hair and quick eyes, Susan, a xenobiologist who specialized in non-terrestrial life forms, and Beth, a pilot who had won awards for her skill in navigational challenges. Together with Mel and Linda, they formed a small but capable crew. Final checks are complete, Admiral Reed reported as they secured their gear. All systems operational, stealth systems engaged. We can leave whenever you're ready. Xylia turned to Kate. You understand we may not return from this mission. The Nexus, if it exists, may be protected or damaged after all these years. And if the harvesters detect us, I know the risks, Kate replied, and I'm prepared to take them. My mother gave her life to this cause in her own way. I will honor that. The Admiral took her position at the command station Eclipse, requesting departure clearance for scientific mission to Sector 7. After a brief pause, the station responded. Clearance granted. Eclipse safe travels. The ship detached from the station, its engines glowing softly as it moved away from Earth. They would maintain the pretense of a routine scientific mission until they were beyond monitoring range, then alter course for the coordinates of the Nexus as Earth grew smaller behind them. Kate felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. She had spent her life studying alien biology, but had never expected to work alongside aliens to save both their worlds. The irony was lost on her. Xylia stood beside her at the viewport, her alien features unreadable to most humans. But Kate was beginning to understand her expressions, the slight narrowing of silver eyes, the tilt of her head. The Viridian general was anxious too. The next 12 hours passed in careful preparation. The crew studied the combined star charts, memorized what little information they had about the Nexus, and ran combat drills. The ship accelerated to maximum speed once they were beyond Earth. Monitoring systems, Kate found herself working closely with Linda, the Viridian communications officer. Together, they analyzed the fragmented data from both their parents' records, looking for any additional clues about what they might find. Your language is fascinating, Linda said as they worked. Her English was perfect, though her voice had the same musical quality all Viridians shared. So direct, so efficient. Our language has 12 tones that modify meaning. Yours relies on word order. Kate smiled. The first linguistic studies of Viridian nearly drove our researchers mad. They kept missing the tonal components. Linda made the chiming laugh. It was similar. For us, your faces are so expressive. It took us years to realize how much communication happens through your facial movements. Their work was interrupted by a ship-wide alert. Admiral Reed called them to the bridge. Susan had detected something on long-range sensors. A ship, she reported, pointing to the display. Not harvester design. Unknown configuration. It appears to be damaged on the screen. A small vessel drifted. Its design was unlike anything in either human or Viridian records. Its hull was crystalline in appearance with organic-looking protrusions. Life signs, Susan asked, adjusting the scanners. One faint reading, Susan confirmed. Not matching any known species, Xylia and Kate exchanged looks. This was unexpected and potentially dangerous, but they could not ignore a damaged ship with a survivor. Admiral Reed made the decision. We investigate, but with full caution. Weapons ready, boarding team prepared. The Eclipse changed course, moving carefully toward the mysterious vessel. None of them could have predicted how this encounter would change their mission, or that the survivor aboard would hold secrets about the Nexus that would alter everything they thought they knew. The interior of the Nexus defied expectations. The walls were the same crystalline material as the exterior, but inside they flowed like liquid, forming pathways and chambers as the group moved forward. Lights awakened at their approach, illuminating symbols that shifted and changed. Lyra led them through the maze-like structure, her familiarity evident, though she admitted much had changed since her last visit. The central chamber remained their goal, a place she called the Heart of Knowing Admiral. Reed remained on the Eclipse with Beth and Linda, maintaining communications and ready for extraction if needed. The boarding party consisted of Kate, Zelia, Lyra, Mel Susan, and Allison. Each carried equipment for their specialties and weapons for protection, though Lyra assured them the Nexus itself was not hostile. Merely cautious, as they moved deeper, the structure began to respond more actively to their presence. Panels opened, revealing technology beyond their comprehension. Susan documented everything, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her caution. Kate focused on the biological aspects, noting how the structure seemed almost alive, responding to their presence like a nervous system. The first test came unexpectedly, a chamber sealed behind them, while the path ahead split into 3 separate corridors. Each corridor displayed different symbols. One showed human DNA sequences, another Viridian genetic markers, and the third showed celestial patterns. "We must separate," Lyra explained. "This is the test of origin. You must each follow your genetic path." Kate looked at Zelia with concern. "Is this safe?" The Celestial nodded. "The paths will test your individual worthiness, then bring us back together if we succeed. You must go alone, Kate Wilson, to prove your human spirit is worthy." Zelia touched Kate's shoulder, briefly, a gesture of reassurance. The human had come to recognize as the Viridian equivalent of a handshake. "We will meet again on the other side," she promised. They separated, each entering their designated corridor. Kate followed the human symbols, which began to glow brighter as she walked. The passage narrowed, then opened into a room filled with holograms of Earth history. She recognized scenes from wars, technological achievements, artistic creations, the best and worst of humanity displayed in 3-dimensional imagery. A voice spoke not in sound but directly in her mind. "You seek the power of the Nexus human. Why should your species be trusted with such power?" Kate considered, her answer carefully remembering Lyra's training. "We seek it not for power but for survival. Not just for humans, but for Viridians as well. The Harvesters threaten all intelligent life." The holograms shifted, showing scenes of the human-Viridian war. The destruction both sides had caused your kind, and the Viridians tried to destroy each other once. Why should the Nexus believe you will not use its power against each other once the Harvesters are defeated? "Because we have learned from our mistakes," Kate replied. "We know now that we were manipulated into that war. Our parents discovered the truth and began the process of healing. My mother and General Zelius. Father worked together in secret for decades, preparing us for this moment. They believed our species could overcome our past." The room fell silent, the holograms frozen. The voice returned, softer now. "You speak truth, Kate Wilson, daughter of Olivia. But belief is not enough. There must be proof." The floor beneath her feet became transparent, revealing a pool of swirling silver liquid. "The memory pool," the voice explained. "Step into it. Share your truth. If your intentions are pure, you will pass the test. If not," Kate understood the implied threat. She removed her boots and stepped into the liquid. It was warm and tingled against her skin. As she waded deeper, the substance rose, climbing her body until she was immersed to her neck. Memories flooded through her, not just her own but her mother's. She experienced Olivia's discovery of the wounded Viridian general, felt her decision to help rather than harm lived through the moment they uncovered the Harvester deception. Kate witnessed her mother's years of secret work, her correspondence with Zelia's father, their shared hope that their children would complete what they had begun. When she emerged from the pool, Kate was changed. The liquid had left no physical mark, but she felt her mother's presence stronger than ever before, a certainty that she was on the right path. The voice spoke, one last time. You have passed the test of origin, human. Follow the light to rejoin your companions. Meanwhile, Zelia faced her own test in a chamber filled with Viridian battle records. The voice challenged her warrior heritage, questioning whether a species built on military hierarchy could ever truly cooperate with others. Her test involved combat, not with weapons, but with strategy. A simulation of the approaching harvester fleet appeared, requiring her to demonstrate how she would defend both Earth and Viridian worlds without sacrificing either. Zelia created a battle plan that integrated human and Viridian strengths, showcasing cooperation rather than domination. When questioned about her willingness to die for humans, the general replied with conviction, I would give my life not just for my people, but for any who stand against the harvesters. We face extinction together or survive together. There is no other path. Her test completed. Zelia was directed toward a central junction, where she found Kate waiting. The human looked different somehow, more confident, more certain. Lyra joined them moments later, her silver eyes glowing brightly. You both passed. Lyra said with evident pride. Few species ever do. The Nexus recognizes your worthiness. Now comes the test of unity, more difficult, but you will face it together. The chamber they entered next was circular, with a raised platform in the center. Above it hung a crystalline orb that pulsed with energy. The walls displayed star maps showing the positions of Earth Viridian homeworlds and the approaching harvester fleet. This is the Chamber of Bonding, Lyra explained. The final test before we reach the heart of knowing here. You must prove that human and Viridian can truly work as one. Kate and Zelia stepped onto the platform as instructed. The crystal above them brightened, intensifying, until it was almost painful to look at. Tendrils of energy reached down, surrounding them, creating a sphere of light that cut them off from Lyra and the others. Within the energy field, Kate could suddenly sense Zelia's thoughts, feel her emotions. The Viridian general experienced the same. Their minds connected on a level neither had imagined possible. They saw each other's memories, fears, hopes, dreams. In an instant, they knew each other completely. The voice spoke to them both. Your species were engineered by the Celestials from the same genetic foundation, separated and placed on different worlds to develop along different paths. The experiment was to see if separate evolution would create truly different species, or if the core similarity would eventually draw you back together. This revelation stunned them both. Humans and Viridians were genetic cousins. Their differences were environmental, not fundamental. The wars between them seemed even more tragic with this knowledge. Can you accept this truth? The voice asked. Can you embrace your shared origin and future? Through their mental connection, Kate felt Zelia's initial shock, then acceptance. The general had been raised with religious beliefs that Viridians were unique creations, yet she adapted to this new reality with remarkable speed. Her mind reached out to Kate's, offering acceptance. Kate responded in kind, sharing her own feelings of wonder and hope at this discovery. Together they formed a mental response to the voice. We accept our shared origin and embrace a unified future. Our differences have made us stronger together than either would be alone. The energy field collapsed, leaving them standing together on the platform. Lyra approached, her expression solemn. You have passed the test of unity, she said. Now we can proceed to the heart of knowing Susan. Mel and Allison had watched in amazement, unable to hear the exchange but witnessing the energy field and the obvious connection that had formed. The group continued deeper into the nexus, following pathways that seemed to form ahead of them and dissolve behind. As they walked, Kate found she could still sense Zelia's presence in her mind. A faint connection remained between them. The Viridian general noticed as well, exchanging a look of understanding with the human scientist. Their relationship had fundamentally changed. The final chamber was massive, a spherical room with a central column that stretched from floor to ceiling. Along the walls were control stations with interfaces that looked designed for different species. One clearly meant for human hands, another for Viridian, and a third for Celestials. Lyra approached the Celestial station, placing her six-fingered hand on the interface. The room hummed with power as systems activated dormant for millennia came to life. The central column began to glow, revealing itself as a massive energy conduit. "Behold the heart of knowing," Lyra said. "The Nexus is fully awakened. Now we must prepare it to transmit the disruptive frequency. When the harvesters come within range, we can render their hive mind dormant." Kate moved to the human interface while Zilia approached the Viridian station. Following Lyra's instructions, they began the complex process of activating the weapon. Screens appeared, showing the location of the harvester fleet still days away from human and Viridian space, but closing rapidly. Their work was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Eclipse Admiral. Reed's voice came through their comms. "We have detected ships approaching, not harvester design. They appear to be Viridian." Zilia looked up in surprise. "That is impossible. No one knew our destination." The Eclipse approached the damaged vessel with caution, its sensors scanning for any signs of threat. The crystalline ship hung motionless against the backdrop of stars. Its structure unlike anything in human or Viridian records. Parts of its hull seemed to glow with an internal light while other sections were dark and fractured. Zilia studied the sensor readings with Admiral Reed. "The life sign is stable but weak," she observed. "It's located in what appears to be a central chamber." Beth maneuvered, their ship alongside the alien vessel, finding what looked like a docking port. The structures were incompatible, but with careful positioning, they could extend an emergency boarding tube. The boarding team consisted of Zilia, Kate, Allison, and Mel each, wore environmental suits with built-in weapons. Kate carried medical supplies while Allison brought tools to force entry if needed. The tube extended between the ships with a soft hiss of pressurization. The interior of the crystalline ship was bathed in a soft blue glow. The walls pulsed with light, creating patterns that seemed almost like a language. The air was breathable according to their suits, but they kept helmets on as a precaution. "This technology," Kate whispered, running a scanner along one wall, "it's beyond both our civilizations. The materials aren't even in our databases." They followed the life sign readings through curving corridors. The ship seemed to respond to their presence, lights brightening along their path as if guiding them. The central chamber was larger, with a raised platform in the center. On it lay a being unlike any they had encountered. It was humanoid, but taller even than the Viridians. Its skin was translucent, showing a complex network of luminescent veins. Beneath the being had no hair and six-fingered hands. Its eyes were closed, but they could see movement beneath the lids. Kate approached slowly, scanning the alien. "It's alive, but in some kind of stasis. The suit readings indicate it's been this way for possibly years. The ship seems to be keeping it alive." As if responding to her words, the alien's eyes opened. They were entirely silver, with no visible pupils or iris. The being looked at each of them in turn, then focused on Kate. "You came," it said, its voice somehow inside their minds rather than audible. "I waited so long." Zilia stepped forward, her posture protective. "Who are you? What is this ship?" The alien struggled to sit up, its movements weak but determined. "I am Lyra of the Celestial Guardians. This vessel is a messenger ship. We monitor the cycles." We warned. Kate moved closer, helping to support the being. Its light seemed to brighten at her touch. "What cycles?" she asked. "Do you mean the harvesters?" The alien nodded, a surprisingly human gesture. "They return as they always have. When civilizations reach a certain point of development, they come to harvest. The cycle has repeated for millions of years across thousands of galaxies." Admiral Reed contacted them through the comm. "Your ship is damaged. What happened?" Lyra turned toward the sound. "I tried to warn others in a nearby system. The harvesters detected me. They attacked, but I escaped. I was trying to reach Earth when my ship failed." Kate shared a look with Zilia. This being had information. "They desperately needed, of the Nexus?" she asked. The alien's silver eyes widened. Of the Nexus," she replied. "How my mother and her father," Kate said, gesturing to Zilia. "They discovered information about it during our war. They believed It could be used against the harvesters. Lyra seemed to grow stronger, her inner light pulsing more steadily. The Nexus is real. It is one of the celestial weapons created to fight the harvesters long ago. Most were destroyed or hidden when the Celestials transcended to another plane of existence. I am one of the few left behind to guide younger species when the time comes. They helped Lyra to her feet. The alien towered over even Zilia, her movements becoming more fluid as she recovered. My ship cannot be repaired, she said. I must join you if you seek the Nexus. It cannot be activated without proper instruction. Back aboard the Eclipse, they provided Lyra with a makeshift quarters. The alien required little sustenance, explaining that her species absorbed energy rather than consuming matter. The crew gathered in the command center to hear what she could tell them. The harvesters are not what you think, Lyra explained as they showed her the star charts. They are not a species, but a collective. A swarm intelligence that consumes all information and biological material it encounters. They seed young civilizations with technology, encouraging development until they reach a level worth harvesting. This matched what Kate and Xilia's parents had discovered decades ago. The war between humans and Viridians had been engineered to weaken both species, making the harvest easier. And the Nexus? Kate asked, what exactly is it? Lyra touched the star map, highlighting the coordinates. They were already heading toward. The Nexus is a dimensional gateway. It can connect to the harvester's central consciousness. When properly activated, it can send a specific frequency that disrupts their hive mind, rendering them dormant for centuries. Admiral Reed leaned forward in her seat. This weapon, how is it activated? The celestial being looked at, Kate and Zilia. It requires genetic keys from species the Celestials designated as potential inheritors. Humans and Viridians were among those chosen. Your DNA patterns together can unlock the Nexus controls. This explained why their parents had maintained contact after the war. They knew their children might someday need to work together. What about the harvesters approaching our systems now? Beth asked from her pilot station. Will they detect us going to the Nexus? They are still focused on your homeworlds, Lyra said. They do not know of my presence or your mission, but we must hurry. The Nexus has defenses against unauthorized access. We must reach it before they realize what we intend. Over the next days, they continued their journey toward the hidden coordinates. Lyra shared knowledge of the harvesters and the ancient Celestials. The crew was fascinated, especially the scientists. Susan spent hours documenting everything while Kate focused on understanding the biological aspects. Xilia and Lyra developed an unexpected connection. The Viridian general had grown up with stories of ancient guardians, though most of her people considered them myths to meet. A living celestial confirmed beliefs she had held since childhood. Kate found them in the observation deck. Lyra, teaching Xilia meditation techniques to enhance mental focus. The human scientist watched unnoticed for a moment, struck by how similar they seemed despite their different origins, both tall, elegant warriors dedicated to protecting their people. Your minds are strong, Lyra was saying, but the Nexus will require more than physical presence. It will test your worthiness. You must be mentally prepared. Kate stepped forward. Perhaps I should join these lessons, she suggested. Lyra smiled, a gesture she had clearly learned from watching the humans. Your presence completes the circle, she said. Yes, join us. Kate Wilson. The meditation techniques were unlike anything Kate had experienced. They sat in a triangle, focusing on a small crystal Lyra had produced from her robes. The crystal glowed, responding to their combined mental energies. Kate felt a strange connection forming between the three of them, a bridge of thought and purpose as they trained. Admiral Reed monitored the ship's progress and the latest intelligence from Earth. The diplomatic talks between humans and Viridians were proceeding slowly, too slowly given the approaching threat. Some on both sides remained suspicious, unwilling to trust. The Admiral had made the right choice supporting this mission. On the 7th day of their journey, the sensors detected something ahead. A massive structure floating in otherwise empty space. It was shaped like two rings intersecting at right angles with a spherical center. The entire construct was made of the same crystalline material as Lyra's ship, but on an enormous scale. The Nexus, Lyra said, her voice filled with emotion. It Has been 5,000 years since I last saw it. Beth brought the eclipse to a stop at a safe distance. The structure showed no signs of power or activity. It appeared dormant, waiting. Scans show no other ships in the area, Allison reported. But there are energy readings from the central sphere. Minimal but present. Lyra stood gazing at the ancient weapon. This is just the beginning, she said. We must dock at the entry point, then make our way to the control chamber. The tests will begin as soon as we board. The crew prepared for boarding, knowing this would be the most dangerous part of their mission. If they succeeded, they would have a weapon capable of stopping the Harvester threat. If they failed, both their worlds would face annihilation. Kate found herself standing between Zelia and Lyra as they approached the docking port. The structure seemed to recognize Lyra's presence, ports opening smoothly to admit their shuttle. None of them were prepared for what awaited inside. The Nexus was not simply a weapon. It was a repository of celestial knowledge, a library of technologies beyond imagination, and at its heart, a truth about the connection between humans and Viridians that would forever change how they saw each other. Tension filled the heart of knowing as they processed this new complication. Commander Thorax was known to Zelia, a stern traditionalist who had opposed peace with humans for years. His presence here could not be coincidence, nor could it be positive. For their mission, Zelia approached the communication panel, her posture shifting to formal military bearing. Commander, this is General Zelia. I am on a mission of vital importance to both our worlds. I will explain everything, but you must keep your distance from this structure. It has defensive capabilities that might activate if it perceives a threat. There was a pause before Thorax responded. Your unauthorized departure with human allies has raised serious concerns. General, the Council demands answers. You will return to your ship and prepare for boarding. Kate moved beside Zelia, placing a hand on her arm. What are our options? She asked quietly. Admiral Reed spoke through their comlink. We detected 5 Viridian cruisers heavily armed. They could easily overwhelm the eclipse if they choose to attack. Lyra joined them. Her silver eyes narrowed in thought. The Nexus is not yet fully activated. We need more time to complete the preparation sequence. If we leave now, all is lost. Zelia made her decision with characteristic decisiveness. I will speak with Thorax in person. Explain enough to buy us time. The rest of you continue the activation sequence. Kate objected immediately. I'm going with you. The mental link between them was faint, now but still present enough for Kate to sense Zelia's determination and concern. The Viridian general shook her head. This is a military matter. Kate Wilson. Thorax will respond better to me alone. You are needed here. Your scientific expertise is crucial to complete the activation. Before Kate could protest further, Admiral Reed interrupted. We have another problem. Multiple ships just appeared at the edge of our sensor range. They match Harvester configurations. They were not there minutes ago. How did they find us? Lyra moved to the celestial control panel, her fingers dancing across symbols. Our presence at the Nexus. The activation sequence. It creates energy signatures they can detect. They must have sent a scout group ahead of their main fleet. The situation had become critical. Harvesters approaching from one direction, Viridian military from another, and the Nexus not yet ready to deploy. Decisions had to be made quickly. Zelia addressed Admiral Reed. Samantha, I need you to communicate with the Viridian ships. Explain that we have Harvesters incoming. Buy us whatever time you can, while Kate, Lyra, and I complete the activation. But Admiral Reed had more bad news. Sensors show the Harvesters have deployed smaller vessels. Fast attack. Craft moving to intercept both us and the Viridian ships. They will reach us before we can complete the activation. Kate studied the displays showing the approaching threats. Then we need to convince the Viridians to help defend the Nexus while we finish the activation. She looked at Zelia. Our best chance is to unite against the immediate threat. Zelia nodded in agreement. I know Thorax. He is stubborn but not foolish. If he sees the Harvester ships, he will understand the threat. Admiral Reed, patch me through to his vessel. The communication was established. Thorax appeared on the screen, his tall Viridian frame adorned with military decorations. His expression was severe. Commander Thorax, We have confirmed harvester vessels approaching this position. They have launched attack craft. They will target your ships as well as ours. We must coordinate defense. Thorax seemed skeptical. Why should I believe this convenient timing? General, your unauthorized mission with humans then supposed. Harvesters appear in response. Zelia had Admiral Reed transmit their sensor data showing the approaching vessels. The evidence was undeniable. Thorax studied it, his expression shifting from suspicion to concern. These match the ancient records, he admitted. What is this place? What have you discovered? We have found a weapon against the harvesters, Zelia explained. One created by the Celestials. It requires more time to activate. Will you help us defend it until then? The commander considered her request. What you ask is against my orders. Kate stepped into view beside Zelia. Commander, your orders were given without knowledge of the current situation. The harvesters are real. They engineered the war between our species. They return now to harvest both our worlds. Will you let ancient prejudice doom both our peoples? Thorax seemed surprised by the human woman's boldness. His eyes narrowed as he studied her. Then something changed in his expression. You speak like a warrior human, not a scientist. Very well, we will engage the harvester vessels. Buy you time, but when this is done, General Zelia, you will answer to the Council. The Viridian ships changed formation, moving to intercept the approaching harvester vessels. Admiral Reed coordinated, with them developing a defensive strategy that would keep the enemy away from the Nexus. With that immediate crisis addressed, Kate, Zelia, and Lyra returned to the activation sequence. The process was complex, requiring simultaneous input from all three interfaces. Each step had to be precise, synchronized between human, Viridian, and celestial controls. As they worked, Kate and Zelia found their mental connection strengthening again, making their coordination nearly perfect. Outside the battle, began harvester attack craft engaged the Viridian cruisers while the Eclipse provided support. The smaller human ship was more maneuverable, using hit-and-run tactics to disrupt harvester formations. The Viridians fought with precision, their larger vessels absorbing damage while delivering devastating energy blasts. In the heart of knowing, Kate monitored the battle through secondary displays. The Viridians were holding their own but taking damage. One cruiser was already crippled, its engines. Dark harvester reinforcements were arriving. The window of opportunity was closing. We need more power. Kate called out to Lyra. The activation sequence is too slow at this rate. The Celestial looked up from her station. The Nexus has been dormant for millennia. Its energy reserves are depleted. It draws power, slowly regenerating as we work. Zelia studied the power distribution diagrams with a warrior's eye for weakness. Can we reroute power from non-essential systems? Concentrated on the primary conduits, Lyra considered, then nodded. That could work, but it requires manual adjustment of the flow regulators. They are located in maintenance tunnels surrounding this chamber. Someone must physically adjust them while we continue here without hesitation. Kate stepped away from her station. I will go. Tell me what to do. Lyra quickly explained the process, showing Kate diagrams of the regulators and the necessary adjustments the human scientist would need to visit 4 different locations, redirecting power from secondary systems to the main conduit. It was dangerous work. If too much power flowed too quickly, the regulators could overload. Zelia watched Kate prepare, concern evident in her silver eyes. Be careful, Kate Wilson. Our minds remain linked. I will guide you through my thoughts. The human smiled, touching Zelia's arm briefly. I will return, General. We have come too far to fail now. Kate made her way through narrow maintenance tunnels, following Lyra's directions. The crystalline structure hummed, with energy growing warmer as systems activated. Reaching the first regulator, she found it just as described. A panel of flowing symbols, with physical controls that responded to her touch. Following the Celestial's instructions, she adjusted the flow, watching as power levels increased in the main conduit. Through her mind, she felt Zelia's presence steady and reassuring. The mental link allowed them to coordinate without words. Kate could sense when to make adjustments, feeling the effects through Zelia's perceptions at the main controls. The battle outside intensified. Another Viridian cruiser took critical damage, its weapons going offline. The Eclipse was hit multiple times, shields failing. Beth executed emergency maneuvers, keeping the ship mobile, but their situation was deteriorating. Kate reached the third regulator, her hands moving with confidence now. The power levels were approaching optimal. The Nexus was awakening, fully symbols along the walls glowing with increasing brightness. She could feel the energy building throughout the structure. As she worked on the final adjustments, a violent impact shook the Nexus. A harvester weapon had struck the outer ring, sending shockwaves through the structure. Kate lost her footing, nearly falling into an energy conduit. She caught herself at the last moment, but the regulator controls were damaged through their link. Xylia felt Kate's danger. "General, we have a problem," Kate called out. "The final regulator is damaged. I cannot complete the adjustment from here." Lyra checked her displays. "The power flow is unstable. We need that final adjustment or the activation sequence will fail." Xylia made an immediate decision. "I am coming to you." Kate hold position. She left her station, racing through the corridors, following the mental link to Kate's location. The Viridian moved with incredible speed, her longer limbs carrying her through the maintenance tunnels in moments. When she reached Kate, the human was attempting to bypass the damaged controls without success. Together they assessed the situation. The regulator's physical interface was beyond repair, but Xylia spotted an alternative. The power conduits themselves could be manually aligned. If they work together, it will require both of us, Xylia explained. "We must redirect the energy flow physically, each taking one conduit. If we synchronize perfectly, the power will flow correctly to the main chamber." Kate understood the risk. If they failed, the energy backlash could kill them both. But there was no alternative. The harvesters were breaking through the defensive line outside in space. More of their ships arrived every minute. "Let's do it," she said. The return journey to Earth was tense but triumphant. The Eclipse, too damaged to travel independently, was taken aboard the largest remaining Viridian cruiser. Commander Thorax insisted that Xylia, Kate, and Lyra join him on his command ship, while engineers worked to repair the human vessel. The rest of their crew remained with Admiral Reed, overseeing repairs and maintaining communication with Earth in Thorax's private briefing room. Kate and Xylia explained everything. The history their parents had uncovered, the harvester threat, the discovery of the Nexus, and most significantly, the revelation about human and Viridian shared origins. The commander listened with growing astonishment, his traditional beliefs visibly shaken by each new piece of information. Lyra confirmed their account, adding details about celestial history. "The guardians of my kind watched over many worlds." She explained humans and Viridians were part of a grand experiment, testing whether beings from the same genetic foundation would recognize their kinship despite evolving on different worlds. Thorax paced the room, his tall frame tense with conflicting emotions. "This challenges everything we have believed for generations," he admitted. "Our religious texts speak of unique creation. Our historical records show centuries of separation." Xylia stood before her fellow Viridian, her posture respectful but firm. "The records were incomplete, Commander. Our war with humans was orchestrated by outside forces. We have proof now, undeniable evidence. The question is not whether this is true, but what we do with this knowledge." Kate joined them, bringing up displays showing genetic comparisons between humans and Viridians. The similarities were remarkable once properly analyzed. The core genetic structure is nearly identical, with environmental adaptations accounting for the visible differences. Our people evolved differently to suit our worlds. Kate explained Viridians developed greater height, stronger bone structure, and different respiratory systems for your higher gravity environment. Humans adapted for Earth's conditions. But the foundation is the same. We are cousins, separated by space and time, but fundamentally connected. Thorax studied the evidence, his scientific training warring with cultural beliefs. After a long silence, he spoke. "We must proceed carefully. This information could destabilize both our societies if presented poorly. The Council will resist. The more conservative elements will claim falsification." Kate understood his concern. "Change is never easy," she agreed. But we have something powerful on our side. Necessity. The harvesters are dormant, not dead. In a century or less, they will return. We need that time to prepare. Together. The commander nodded slowly, turning to Xylia. You have violated numerous protocols, General. Yet you may have saved both our worlds. I will support your case before the Council. But there will be consequences. Xylia accepted this with dignity. I expected nothing less, Commander. My actions were necessary, but I will face judgment as our laws require, as they approached Earth. Human authorities made contact. Admiral Reed's superiors demanded explanations. Diplomatic channels between humans and Viridians activated at the highest levels. The presence of Viridian warships in Earth space caused initial panic until the situation was clarified. The Eclipse crew was debriefed extensively. Kate explaining the discoveries and the activation of the Nexus scientists were skeptical. Until presented with data and samples Kate had collected, the evidence was irrefutable. A weapon of incredible power had been activated, the harvester threat neutralized at least temporarily, and most revolutionary, the genetic connection between humans and Viridians confirmed. 3 weeks after their return, an unprecedented joint session was convened. Leaders from Earth and Viridian gathered in a neutral location, a space station positioned between their worlds. Kate, Xylia, and Lyra presented. Their findings, Admiral Reed and Commander Thorax providing supporting testimony. The evidence was exhaustive, the conclusion inescapable. In a private moment before the final session, Kate found Xylia in the observation lounge. The Viridian general stood looking out at the stars, her posture revealing the strain of recent weeks. Kate approached, standing beside her. Neither spoke for a moment. The mental connection between them had faded but not disappeared entirely. They could still sense each other's emotions, if not specific thoughts. You will be cleared of all charges, Kate said finally. The Council recognizes you acted to save both our worlds. Xylia made the chiming sound that was her species' version of laughter. They had no choice. The evidence is overwhelming, and Thorax's support was unexpected but welcome. He has changed, as have we all, Kate replied. She hesitated, then asked the question that had been on her mind since their return. What happens now? Between our peoples? Between us? The Viridian turned to face her, silver eyes reflecting starlight. I return to my duties, General Xylia of the Viridian Defense Force. But changed a bridge between worlds, perhaps. Their connection was rare. A human and Viridian who had shared minds, who had activated the Nexus together. The first of what might become many such connections. Kate nodded, understanding. What the Nexus showed us about our shared origins, it will take generations for both our societies to fully accept. But we have time. Now time the harvesters gave us unwittingly. The final session was broadcast to both worlds. Leaders signed preliminary agreements establishing joint research initiatives focused on celestial technology and preparing for the eventual return of the harvesters. Lyra was granted special status as ambassador from the Celestial Guardians, though she was the last of her kind. Kate was promoted to head a new xenobiology division focused on the human-Viridian connection. Her research would help both species understand their shared heritage and the unique adaptations that made them different. Scientists from both worlds would work under her direction. As the formal proceedings concluded, Kate found herself standing with Xylia and Lyra, looking out at Earth and the Viridian homeworld visible as bright points in the distance. Two worlds that had nearly destroyed each other, now bound by common origin and purpose. Do you think they would be proud? Xylia asked quietly. Our parents. They started this journey. Kate smiled, watching the stars. I believe they would. They saw beyond the conflicts of their time, imagined a future where our peoples worked together. They would be amazed by what we've discovered, but not surprised by our cooperation. Lyra placed a six-fingered hand on each of their shoulders. The Celestial had become more than an ally in their journey, a friend and mentor. The Nexus was only the beginning. She said, the Celestials left many technologies, many secrets. Your joint civilizations. We'll discover them in time, growing stronger together. The harvesters will return, but you will be ready. 6 months later, Kate stood in a new facility, built in neutral space between Earth and Viridian territory. The Joint Species Research Center housed scientists from both worlds working on projects ranging from genetic research to celestial technology adaptation. Her office overlooked the main laboratory, where humans and Viridians worked side by side. Their differences obvious, but their common purpose binding them together. A communication alert sounded on her desk. General Xylia requesting connection. Kate smiled. Activating the system, the Viridian's face appeared life-sized in the holographic display. General Wilson the Viridian greeted, her formally using Kate's new military designation. The Earth Defense Force had recognized the need for military scientific liaison, creating a special rank for her. Kate had protested, but eventually accepted, understanding the political necessity. General Xylia, she returned the greeting with equal formality, though a smile played at her lips. How goes the defense planning? The Viridian looked pleased. Progress on all fronts. The new shield technology derived from the Nexus has been successfully tested. The Council has approved joint military exercises next month. Their conversation continued, covering official matters first, as they had done many times since returning from the Nexus. When the formal reports were complete, Xylia's posture relaxed slightly. I received a message from Lyra. The Celestial has located another artifact on the Outer Rim. She requests our presence, specifically. Kate's interest was immediately piqued. Another celestial artifact containing what unknown? Xylia replied. But she insists. It requires both human and Viridian access. As before, their eyes met across light years, understanding passing between them. The journey to the Nexus had changed them. Both created a connection that transcended their differences. In the months since, they had worked separately but toward common goals. Rebuilding trust between their species, preparing defenses, developing technologies. Are you proposing another unauthorized mission? General Kate asked with a raised eyebrow. Xylia made the chiming laugh. This time we have proper authorization. The Joint Defense Committee has approved preliminary exploration. Will you join me? Kate Wilson, for science. Of course, Kate smiled widely. For science, she agreed, and perhaps a little adventure as they finalized. Plans. Kate reflected on how much had changed a year ago. Humans and Viridians maintained wary separation. Now they worked together, studied together, prepared together. The revelation of their common origin had not erased centuries of difference but had created a bridge of understanding. Her mother would have been proud. Olivia Wilson had seen this potential decades ago, had worked in secret to prepare for it. Kate glanced at the photo on her desk, showing her mother in military uniform standing. Proud and determined, she had continued what her mother began, carried it further than anyone could have imagined.